Hello everyone, I hope you can see me. Nichole Smith here. I'm an exclusive Black status presenter. I just returned home from convention, which was wonderful, and we had so much fun and learned so much. I know all of you couldn't make it, and I know all of you couldn't make it to my class either, even the ones at convention. So I wanted to go ahead and reteach the breakout session that I did. I had planned it with Julie as well, but she, due to her pregnancy, was unable to travel. So I gave it on my own, and here I am. I'm going to give it to you again. So I hope you are all there. I've turned on the questions, and I will try to see they're coming in quick, so I don't know if I'll be able to get to them very well or not, but we'll do what we can. This is a new program for me and kind of a learning experience, so bear with me. But let's get started. I'm going to show you, just get started with the presentation. We have a PowerPoint here. And this is, I wasn't able to make it the full screen view, so we're just going to do the best we can. So like I said, I'm Nichole Smith. I am an exclusive Black status presenter with Unique. I am presenter number 36. I started when this company started back last 2012 in October was our recruiting month, and I went ahead and signed up. I'm a homeschool mom of 4. At the time, I had twin 10-month-olds. My husband was away regularly working. I was new to a small town. I live in North Pole, Alaska, where very few women wear makeup. And I felt pretty much housebound. When it's negative 40 degrees, it is really tough to take out 4 kids, especially twin babies. So it was rough, but it came at a really nice time for me. It gave me something new to do and focus. I had been a frugal blogger for several years and was kind of getting tired of the industry and ready to move on. So this was, I didn't even know it at the time, but I fell into my dream job. I was the first exclusive level presenter in the company. I was the first to hit purple. I'm a top earner. I was 2014's top earner as I was awarded at convention, which was pretty neat. And you know, when I started, we didn't really have uplines. We didn't really have a website. We didn't really have many products, but we did have, we had some amazing co-founders. Derek and Melanie were just had great backgrounds, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of passion. And when I heard about this company, I decided, it's $99. What do I have to lose? Well, my presenter kit came with business cards, a pen, and a presenter guide. That was about it. And we didn't even have a back office until January. So it was very new and different starting out. But the moral of my unique story and my background is no excuses. I didn't necessarily have it easy when we started. It took us months and months and months to really get going. We didn't have the name recognition, and nobody knew what 3D fiber lashes were, and nobody had heard of Unique. And so selling or getting people to sign up was significantly more difficult back in those days. We had very few products and not a lot of tools, not many pictures or much for media. So we did what we could, and almost 2 years later, here we are, and we're just killing it. This company is amazing. So enough about me. Let's get into why you're here. This is a leadership talk. This is a talk about leaders. This is not a basic talk about how to sell or how to sponsor. This is what I lovingly refer to as the road to black. Once you've figured out selling and sponsoring, that's what's going to get you to green. You need to take it a step further, and that's what will get you to black. You need 4 green elites to get to black. So these are things that you can take into your own life to help you become a better leader, and things that you can implement within your teams to try to help them also be good leaders. Okay, so I'm just checking these questions. I'm seeing a lot of comments, so okay, most people are seeing it great, so we're just going to keep going. Okay, so why do we need to find leaders and help grow leaders? Really, it's a long-term investment in your income. This is what allows this business to become residual and to earn you money over time. If you had to train every single person in your downline, I think I have 56,000, I could be totally wrong right now, people in my downline. There is no possible way for me to train them all. However, if I train leaders who then train leaders who train leaders, that is where this works its way down, and we're able to eventually not have this be a 40-hour-a-week job. My goal is to make this a 4 to 10-hour-a-week job. My husband doesn't believe me that I'll ever get there because I'm a little obsessive, but that's my goal for now. The second reason it's important for us to cultivate leaders, For me personally, it's very fulfilling. It is a major part of my why behind why I work Unique and why I did it that first year when I was making very little money. It is very enjoyable for me to watch lives change, and it's really fun to work with people who want to make changes as well. I've worked in therapy fields, I've worked in treatment centers, I've worked in a lot of human development type environments, and for me it was very difficult because while I wanted to change lives, I felt like there was always a ceiling in place. There was always something holding me back from having the effect I really wanted to have. And with Unique, there's no ceiling. The sky's the limit. I can change as many lives as I want to, and with as many people as are willing to work. So it's a pretty fulfilling job. This is my dream job that I never knew existed until 2 years ago. The third reason kind of has to do a little bit with number one is we can't do it all on our own. I had one of my leaders who had one of her greens, who had built a team of, I don't know, 50 to 100, and all of a sudden that green leader kind of disappeared and checked out and decided to focus on other things in their lives. Now that's fine, except for my other leader is now dealing with an entire team that she does not have a close relationship with, that she's now having to pick up the pieces, get to know all of those presenters along with her circle and her other teams, and is trying to train all of these people. And it's a very difficult job. There's no way you can possibly do it all on your own. We need leaders to duplicate our efforts so we can pass this on. And that's the beauty of how our compensation plan works and how the company is structured, is that everyone has leaders above them to help and guide them. And along with those lines, our compensation plan is designed to reward leaders who create more leaders. So there are different types of compensation plans out there. You'll learn more about this at Unified as well. And they're all designed to reward different behaviors. Some reward just sponsoring, some just reward selling, some do different combinations. But really, by getting paid 5% on our third generations, it's really rewarding those who have taken the time to develop leaders and help them to do the same. So that's our why. That's why we need to do this. I know for me, I want to work with people who believe what I do. I want to work with people who believe that this is really the business of changing lives. Yes, we sell makeup, but when it comes down to it, I don't look at my job so much as selling makeup, but as helping people change their lives. I have about 12 first-generation elites right now, and a bunch of others in the chute ready to go, and it is so fun and so exciting for me to watch people evolve and grow into those leadership positions. It's really incredible for me. Okay, so there are 3 big keys in building a team of leaders. One is to lead by example. The second is to identify your leaders. And 3 are regular habits of leaders. So we're going to go through each of those individually. The first one is lead by example. To be an effective leader, your team needs to see you doing the actions that you are asking them to do. Some of those include, really we want everyone having about $500 in sales every month. That's very important. If you can get 10 people on your team doing that, well, doing 1,000, I guess, but if you can get a good number of people doing that every month and duplicating it, you're going to have no problem reaching leadership status. But if you have a bunch of people doing only $100 a month, that's a lot more work for you. So if we can lead that we want to have 500 to 1,000 in our own sales every month, especially with 500 of it by the 15th of the month, your team is going to see your efforts. They're going to see that you're leading by example, you're doing the things you're asking them to do, and they're going to follow suit. And you're going to earn their loyalty. They're going to know that you're looking out for their best interest. They're not working for you. You're doing the same things they are. Formula 2.55, we're going to skip to that real quick. This is something that Julie's come up with for her team. This is a formula she likes to instill and share, and depending on your goals and the goals of your team members, this might be to do it every month or every 2 months. But if you want to hit green quickly, this would be a great formula to follow. You want to get $2,000 in personal sales. You want to hold 5 online parties, and through that you should be able to sponsor 5 new presenters. Typically when I hold a party, I can sponsor either one person from that party or from the next party. So for about 5 online parties, I'll usually sponsor about 3 people, because typically you'll find someone who's really excited about the products, or you'll have a fantastic hostess who also wants to become a presenter. So if you follow this formula, you should be able to do pretty well with reaching your goals. Now the key here is to also teach your team to do the same. Thinking like a leader is a very important part of creating leaders. So this is another area where you're leading by example and also trying to share these skills and teach these skills with your team. You want to be the kind of person that doesn't say, I want to try to be green in the next 6 months, maybe if I can, that'd be really cool. You want to be the kind of person that says, I will do whatever it takes to be green by this date. Now, depending on the amount of time you have to focus on your business, that could be 2 months, that could be 6 months. Whatever your goal is and whatever works for you, that's fine. But you need to set that goal and you need to be willing to do what it's going to take to get there. So you need to be coachable. You need to ask your upline, what do you think is a realistic goal if I can spend 10 hours a week? Or what do you think is a realistic goal if I can spend 40 hours a week? And then do whatever it takes. The next part of this is that you really want to remember that one size does not fit all. Just because a certain method or skill works for you does not mean it's going to work for everyone on your team. You don't want to force people to do something your way because you think it must be right and everyone else should be doing it your way. Likewise, not everyone has the same goals that you have. So while your goal may be black in the next few months, someone in your downline's goal might only be to make $200 a month. Well, if you're pushing this $200 a month presenter and expect them to want to be black and you're constantly writing them to sponsor new people or constantly trying to get them selling, $2,000 a month, they're not going to feel like you respect them as a person, and they're not going to respect you as a leader because you're not respecting their goals. So keep in mind, everyone has a different end game here. Not everyone needs to be a six-figure earner, and some people don't feel like they have the time to devote. That's fine, but as a leader, you need to identify these different things. Also, you need to capitalize on individual strengths and advantages. I want to use two different examples from some people that I worked with before. One of which was an awesome lady who went to convention with me last year, and we left a social media class, and she looked like a deer caught in the headlights. It was so far above her head that she was scared to death and thought, there's no way I can learn all that. I'm not tech savvy. I'm not even interested in things like Instagram and Hootsuite. And blogging. It scared her to death. But I had seen this presenter in action. I've seen her do vendor events, and I've seen her do in-home parties, and she's amazing. She's fantastic at it. And I turned to her and said, you know what? Don't worry about it. You don't have to be a superstar blogger. You don't have to be going crazy on Facebook and selling a ton on Facebook. You are very good at vendor events. You are very good at in-home parties. Focus on that. I'm not saying don't try these other things, but don't let it overwhelm you, and don't let it scare you. You and all of your team members are going to have different strengths. We have another rock star presenter named Victoria, and I'm going to pronounce her last name incorrectly, so I apologize, but I think it's Sihuere. She's amazing. She's fantastic on Instagram. She has sponsored over 300 people since she became a presenter, and she has amazing sales, and she is black. She is a great example of someone else who has found their niche. She's amazing at Instagram. Now, why on earth would she need to spend time doing vendor events and in-home parties? She doesn't need to. She's found what she's good at. She's found a way that really works for her, and so that should be her focus. So same for you. Now, I'm not saying don't try different things. Try a lot of different things. You never know what's going to click for you. But you need to find your strengths, and you need to focus there. We want duplicable results. It doesn't mean the way we do it has to be the same. I'm not a big fan of giving every one of my people a script to follow when they want to tell someone about the business, because the people you're talking to may have different needs in the business. They may have different desires, and you giving the same script to every single person is going to show you're not in tune to their needs, and you're not in tune to what they're looking for. So if I find somebody who really wants to be a work-at-home mom, I'm not going to talk to her about vendor events and in-home parties. She wants to focus on staying home and being able to work from her computer, and that works great too. So just remember, everyone has different strengths, everyone has different needs, and you really want to focus on them. Our next part of thinking like a leader is that so I kind of went over this, our exact efforts don't have to be duplicated, but the goal is to have the same results. The goal is selling, sponsoring, and creating leaders, and there are so many different ways to do this that you just need to find what works for you. Okay, the next part. Events are neutral. Now, how many of you would say that the new presenter kit that's coming out in September is good or bad? If you said good, you're wrong. And if you said bad, you're wrong. The new presenter kits changing is a neutral event. There is nothing intrinsically wrong with it, one way or the other. It is all how you present it to your team, and is all how they interpret it and present it to their customers. So if you say, oh no, the presenter kit's changing. Now, okay, I've been here since we started, almost 2 years now. The presenter kit's changed 5 or 6 times, and without fail, regardless of how they change it, there are always complaints. Now, my kit came with business cards and a pen and some product cards, and that was it. When I saw that the presenter kit changed for the first time, I was really excited because I thought, wow, this is going to make it even easier to get people to sign up. Meanwhile, we had other people whining and complaining and saying, oh, this is not fair. My kit wasn't that good 2 months ago. This is so wrong. How could the company do this? And those people, you notice, they never really got anywhere in the business. They never really took it anywhere. But the people who were excited and saw this as an opportunity really were able to take off with it. Let's see. Another example would be the Great Lash Catastrophe of 2014. So those of you who were here in late winter, early spring, remember when the fiber lashes went on back order for 6 weeks. Now, this was tough for pretty much everyone. We were all a little like, oh, okay, this is hard. You know, Derek talks about being embarrassed about this. You know, he knows how companies work. He should know better. But it happened, and it happened with that and Brilliant because we became so wildly popular. So while you had teams and leaders saying, well, I can't sell if a product is on back order, I give up, this is never going to work, or what an awful company that they couldn't anticipate this amazing growth, I quit. And with whole teams of 100 plus people basically dying off and disappearing, you then had other teams saying, look, our products are so amazing, we can't keep them on the shelves. You better pre-order your products now so when they come in, you don't have to wait for yours any longer. Who knows, we could just keep selling out and selling out. It was really incredible to see the leaders emerge with how they handled this situation. They turned something that was neutral, the fact that we were on back order and had to wait a while for products. Some people turned it into a negative and some people turned it into a positive. Okay, so the next one. Okay, so it is important for you to identify leaders, and this is for a few very important reasons. 20% of your team will be responsible for 80% of your income. Once you've identified that 20%, you need to give them 80% of your time. So this 80-20 rule actually carries over to quite a few different areas in your business. You're going to make 80% of your money from 20% of your team. You need to know where to focus your time. It is very easy for the 20% you're not making money off of to take up 80% of their time. In reality, if you are not good about taking care of time management and being focused on that, you're going to have a problem by spending that 80% of your time on the 20%, and that is not effective. The end game of this for everyone in the end is to make money. If you're spending your non-income producing time on that 80%, it's going to hurt your business and it's going to hurt your leaders. So as you're able to identify leaders, you can learn that you need to give those leaders 80% of your time. Now, a way I do this is I am not constantly there to answer messages as I once was. I used to be there for every single one of my team members the second the drop of a hat when they had a question. I would drop everything to answer their questions. And I thought that's what being a good leader was. However, I've learned that sometimes waiting a little while, drawing better boundaries for myself as far as time management and saying, you know, I can't answer you right now. I'm doing homeschool with my kids and getting back to them an hour later. First of all, it made better use of my time, and I wasn't constantly attached to my phone quite so badly. But then second, often those people would come back half hour later and they'd learned how to find the answers on their own, which is really important. This is a very important skill you want to teach your team members. You don't want to teach them to fish, or you don't want to give them fish. You want to teach them how to fish. Your team members need to learn how to find the answers on their own. I have a training site. We have training in our back office. I have a handbook. There are very many resources for people to find answers to their questions, but they often want the easy answer. They want to just ask you and have you give it to them. So that is one skill that I've tried to, or one little trick I've tried to learn, is not not constantly being glued to my phone and answering every single question in my group or message. Now, this is not saying, haha, find it out on your own. It's me taking care of myself and my business. I can't always be there 100% of the time, or me and my kids and my husband will all go insane. Same goes for you. You may be working hard and crazy these first few months and you're super excited, and that's wonderful. I love that. But you have to have time management or you're going to burn out. And in this business, you often don't see the big money until months after the efforts have been made. So you really don't want to burn yourself out in the beginning so you can't reap the rewards a few months later. So a little more along those lines of the 20% and the 80% with identifying your leaders is you need to work with the willing. I have often found that the people that require the most time, that 80% of people, are not really ever going to be my big money earners. They're not going to produce a lot of income for me or themselves, because if they're taking up that much of my time, they're not doing a lot on their own. They're kind of wanting me to do it for them. Now, when I sponsor people, I'll hold their hand the first 2 weeks to a month. I will be there to help them do their first party. I will answer their questions as much as I can. However, there comes a point where I need to step back as a leader and let them do it. I can't run their business for them. The same goes for you. You can't do the business for your team members. They need to learn it. So while I'm very available for my recently sponsored presenters, there comes a point where I step back and say, okay, now you need to do it. Now you need to know how to find the answers. I've given you all the information I have. You need to find it. You need to listen to the conference calls. You need to get out there and talk to people. This is not something you as leaders should be doing for your team members. You should not be holding their hands 6 months after they've joined the company. They are ready to take off and do it on their own, and sometimes you have to give them a little nudge. Another question I want to talk about is people often ask, well, they ask the story of my sponsor. They ask who I signed up with, because knowing that I now have about 82% of the company in my downline, they figure my sponsor must be swimming in dough and loving life. Well, my sponsor was my sister. She signed up under my aunt, who signed up under Lynetta, who is my upline elite, and Derek and Melanie's mom. Lynetta signed up under Kara Ramey, who is one of my elites as well, and then Kara Ramey signed up under Jill Howell. Jill Howell is corporate sponsored, so that's my little family tree. Well, when my sister signed up, she emailed me and a few other people about the company, and I saw the opportunity and jumped on it. My sister, she had also signed up, so she saw the opportunity and the potential here, and I was very impressed with her for going ahead and signing up and seeing that this could be something pretty cool. A few months later, she had talked to what she felt like was every friend she had and everyone she knew, and nobody else signed up, and she sold very few sets of lashes. Over the course of the next several months, she eventually became inactive and sort of dropped off. Well, you all know that we have 6 months to become reactivated to get our downline back and all of that. Around this time was when the fall perks were announced last year. If you don't know, the fall perks were bonuses we could earn for ourselves or our downlines promoting. And I told my sister that I was going to be purple that month. And if I hit purple and she reactivated by spending $125, which only was going to come to about $100 after her commission, that she would make about $600 off of me. She would get that bonus because I hit purple. I think it's about $600. So for my sister simply signing up, or reactivating, I'm sorry, she was going to make a profit of about $500. Now, to most of you out there, that's a complete no-brainer. You're going to sign up, you're going to reactivate, you're going to do what you have to do, spend your $125, get your $25 commission back, because I think she was still white, and then you're going to get that bonus because that's pretty awesome. Well, the end of the month came, and I asked her, and she had never reactivated. She was not motivated enough to take that simple step to make that money. Similarly, if she had reactivated at any point and decided to build a team, she could easily be green, orange, or significantly higher at this point and making a lot of money off my circle and first generation. But my sister didn't do it. And people often ask me, you know, is she upset? Is she angry? Is she really kicking herself for not sticking with it? And my answer is always, no, she's not, because she doesn't care. And you know what? 80% of the people out there might care for a little while, but when it comes down to it and over time and they lose some of that initial excitement, they don't really care. I know a lot of you have had team members where you see the 33% rule. a third do nothing, a third do something, and a third do everything. Now, all of these people are signing up at one point. So you know they have a little interest. You know they maybe have a little initial excitement. But after that initial excitement wears off, a third of them are never going to do almost anything. A third of them are going to do a little bit more. They're going to sell, they're going to sponsor a few. You know, these are the people that are going to probably stay in your circle long term. And we need those people. They're great. I have nothing against any of these people. This is just human nature. And then a third are going to do everything. So this is your top, 33%. I think it ends up being a little bit more like 20% in the end. But they're going to be the ones who make you the bulk of your income. They're going to be the ones who help you promote to green, orange, purple, black. The end of the day, those are the ones that are going to get you there. So I really want to encourage you to take the time to identify your leaders and find the ones that really deserve 80% of your time. Who has teams that want you to do trainings for them? Who wants to learn more? Who wants to dig deeper? Who are the ones who are making the effort to attend convention? These are all really important things you need to pay attention to, and then you need to focus on them. I'm not saying ditch the rest of your team. I'm not saying don't help them. They're still there. They still want to learn, and that's wonderful. But focus that 80% of your time on the ones who are going to show you the big results. Now the next question is, well, how do I know? How do I know who to give that 80% of my time to? And that is what this next slide is about. We want to identify our leaders so we can prioritize our time. Like I said, when I sponsor somebody, I give everybody the same information. Everyone gets my handbook, everyone gets my training site, they get my group, I tell them where the training information is in their back office, and then some take off with it and some don't. You want to mentor your leaders. You don't need to spend a lot of time trying to change the worldview of people who are perhaps negative or who know they won't succeed. You can help change someone's skills as far as leadership skills. Oh, I'm skipping ahead actually. So look at their motivation. Look, this is the second bullet point here. Look at their motivation of your people on your team. Skills can be taught, but motivation is almost impossible to teach. If somebody is not internally motivated enough to either want to change their life or create something amazing, it is almost impossible to make them want to do that. Now, you can teach people who maybe don't have the skills. Maybe they haven't realized, oh, I shouldn't be swearing on Facebook. You can teach them that. And if they want to learn it, they will. Or you can teach people, hey, this is how you lead a team. This is how you sell products. This is how you sponsor. But if somebody's not motivated on their own, they're not going to be one of your leaders. As much as you may want it for them, if they don't want it themselves, it's not going to happen. I actually have a lot of presenters who are working really hard to be black, and they are not that far off. And they see these teams, and they see these leaders who are blue, or maybe have even hit green a time or two before, who kind of die off, and they say, I don't understand. They have these amazing teams, and they just won't do the minimum to get themselves to green, and I don't get it. And it's so true. People who truly are internally motivated and have leadership qualities that maybe some they're born with, we don't understand people who are not motivated. It really baffles us. But it's important to realize that a lot of people just aren't motivated. A lot of people would prefer to stay where they are comfortable and what they know rather than change anything about their lives or change their situation. So it is very important to look at people who are internally motivated. You can encourage your teams. A lot of people ask me, well, how do I motivate my team? And I have the hardest time answering that question because I don't truly believe you can take someone from zero to motivation enough to produce many results. I think you can take those who are already motivated and maybe give them a little kick to do a little more. You can give them a little nudge and help them out, or teach them some extra skills or a little more encouragement. Sometimes some short-term incentives can help reinvigorate some people. But to truly motivate somebody, they have to start with it. Okay, so I'm going to skip back up to the other bullet point. When you're looking at who your future leaders are, you need to look at their attitudes. What things are they saying to you? What kind of questions are they asking? If everything is woe is me, it's the end of the world, I'm never going to succeed, you're probably going to have a hard time changing this person's worldview enough to get them to be a leader, a true leader. Just because somebody hits green once or twice does not actually make them a leader. You need people who can get the respect of their team members and who have team members who want to follow and model their own actions after. So look at their attitudes, look at what they're saying, look at how they're leading their team. I kind of skipped a little bit. I want to go back up to where I'm saying 6 minimum future elites identified. If you want to hit black, you need to always have 6 minimum elites identified in your downline. You need to be able to look at your downline and say, Sherry, Susie, Michelle, Kara, or whoever, they're all my future elites. And then you need to work with them. You need to help them. You need to be there for them and encourage them and help them get their teams and themselves to green. Now we say 6 instead of 4 because you never know who's going to drop off. You never know what team is going to have a rough month and not make it that month. So if you want to consistently make black, you need to shoot for 6 leaders, not just your 4. Okay, so let's go back down to the bottom of this slide where we're looking at the actions of our team members and trying to identify our leaders. There are a few tricks that I do. Whenever anybody new signs up, or as I'm looking through my circle and I see a name I don't recognize, I go look at their Facebook timeline. What kind of things are they posting? What message are they sending out to the world? Are they posting positive things, or is everything whining and complaining about this or that? Are they swearing? Are they posting obscene pictures? Are they posting videos that are pretty controversial? But, things like that will kind of tell me who my good leaders are and might disqualify a few people. Now, this can sometimes be taught and discouraged, but some people aren't going to listen regardless and say, this is who I am, and I want everyone just to know this is who I am, and I'm not going to change what I'm doing on my Facebook timeline. Okay, right there this is not someone who's going to be a good leader because they're not coachable and they're not learning the tips that have been proven to help. So yeah, look at their Facebook interactions, look at what they're posting in your group, look how they're wording things. Are they thinking like a leader? Are they trying to turn neutral events into a positive? Are they trying to help people? Are they there to help their companies, or are they there just to help themselves? And these are things you can pretty easily pick up on in your groups. Now, I see a lot of things popping up in the corner, and I'm trying not to get distracted and read them all right now, so I'll skim them in a minute and see if there's any questions I need to answer. But I just want you aware that I do see them, but at the end we'll do a few questions. Okay, the next thing is follow through. When you are looking for your leaders, give your leaders a challenge. Give them something simple. Hey, read this book, and in 3 days, tell me what you learned from it. Now, if you have someone saying, I want to be a leader, I want to be your next green, or I want to be your next purple, say, that's wonderful. I would love to work with you and help you get there. Why don't you do this? Why don't you read this book, and on Friday, tell me what you learned? But you need to call me, and you need to tell me. Well, what % of people do you think actually follow through and call on the 3rd day? You're going to be surprised that I bet it's less than 1/3 of the people who tell you they want to be a leader. Are they willing to follow through with assignments? Are they willing to follow through with challenges? This is a very simple way to kind of weed people out and know where to spend your time. Now, another thing I do is I just cruise my my circle on our back office, and I look and I see, because I have over 700 people in my circle some months, and I don't know them all personally. But I can look and see, hey, who sold a lot last month? Who sponsored a bunch of people? And in that way, sometimes I can find my rising stars. And sometimes those rising stars can get stuck, 3, 4, or 5 levels down from you, and they don't really know where to go for help. Sometimes you'll have somebody sponsor someone who sponsors someone who sponsors someone, and these people are just kind of barely hanging on, and they maybe have sponsored one person. Well, all of a sudden, one of those people may sponsor a rock star. But that rock star doesn't know where to go for help and encouragement, and if you don't find them and identify them, they may die off because they don't really know what to do from there. So watch your circle. Watch for those people who need that extra help and encouragement, who are already kind of doing what they need to be doing and just need a little more. It is easier to give birth than to resurrect the dead. I actually had one of my wonderful presenters at convention who's trying really hard to be green, who has had about 6 people go inactive on our team, say, so should I go to all my inactive people and try to get them active again? And my response is no. I mean, if they've already gone inactive at this point, they're probably showing you that they're not that motivated and they don't really care. It is going to be much easier for this presenter to go sponsor 6 new people who are excited and it's all new for them, and then to teach them the skills and get them going, than it is for people who really don't care. So Eric Worre, I believe, I don't know if he coined the phrase, but that's where I learned it, was from him, said it's easier to give birth than to resurrect the dead. So just remember that. Don't beat a dead horse. If you've got someone who's already thrown in the towel and doesn't care, move on. You're going to waste 80% of your time trying to motivate somebody who doesn't really care, and that's not a money-making activity for you. That's not an income-producing activity. I really like Simon Sinek, I think is how you say his name, and I am about to go post a link to his TED Talk because I think he's pretty cool. So I hope that just popped up for you, the link right there. Anybody want to tell me if it did? Trying to figure out the chat here. But Simon Sinek is a great speaker on leadership and how to get people to follow and listen to leaders. Let me go back here. So one of the biggest things you can do to help your leaders is to remind them of their why. I love his quote in his TED Talk that says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So if your goal is to make yourself filthy rich and trample on anyone who gets in your way, your team is going to know that. Characteristics of somebody who may not necessarily be a great leader, but who's just trying to get to the top regardless of what it takes, is they're going to say one thing and do the other. They are going to call their teams the last day or two of the month and say, hey, why haven't you sold anything? I'm not going to promote if you don't hurry up and sell. Or why haven't you sponsored anybody? I'm not going to promote if you don't hurry up and build my team for me. And they may not say it quite so bluntly, but those team members are able to recognize that. They're going to recognize that that leader is doing what they're doing because they want themselves to succeed and they don't really care about the rest of their team. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. To be a good leader, people need to buy what you're doing. You need them to want to follow you and do the same things you're doing. And we're not trying to create followers, we're trying to create more leaders. And so you need to be a leader who's modeling the good behaviors that you want your team members to do. Okay, let's go on to the end. We're almost done here. Our last slide is about the monthly tasks. So what is it leaders do? What are we doing every month? We need to recognize our team members. We really need to focus on congratulating them when they have any small accomplishment, whether it's sponsoring their first presenter, getting their first sale, hitting yellow. Those are a big deal. You know, we all start at the same place when we start. The first of the month, I'm yellow just like everyone else who's hit yellow. I don't start out as black every month. We all start in the beginning. I started with 0 people on my team. Back when I signed up with 0 sales. And it felt really good every time we hit one of those little milestones to know that we were at least advancing. So recognize your team, whether it's on Facebook or a phone call or a note. They're so important. Now, incentives can be done as well. I'm not huge on incentives. I don't do a lot of little ones because I don't always think it's duplicable for my leaders to do the same. For me, I do something big when they hit green. I do something big when they hit black. And the rest of the time, I just try to recognize and encourage them. It's really exciting for me to see my team members excel, and I feel bad when I miss a promotion, so I'm really glad when they tell me, hey, I just hit blue, and then I can be just as excited as they are with them, because genuinely I am. I love seeing them feel happy and feel strong and feel successful. So recognize your people. You can do incentives, but I honestly believe keep them to a minimum. You don't want somebody working their business just for the use of an incentive. You want them working their business because they want to work their business. It will carry on longer. Okay, so your PRS and sponsoring must also be consistent. When people say, sometimes I'll get someone who comes to me and says, but I tried everything you told me and it didn't work. And my answer usually is, well, do it again. It's going to take a long time to sometimes see results. When I first started, a lot of you have probably heard this statistic that it takes somebody 7 to 10 times to hear about a new product or hear about a new company before they're going to want to start working with you or buy the products. So if, say, in the beginning, I tried to sell some fiber lashes and I tried to sign people up and no one listened and I quit, 82% of us might not be here today. That's mind-boggling to me. That blows my mind completely. However, I have people that sign up after watching me for a year and a half saying, I wish I would have signed up when you first started. And I'm thinking, yeah, me too. That would have made my life easier. But they needed to see the company, they needed to see the company's consistency and my consistency over the course of that time to know that this was something they could really get behind. And nobody is going to want to sign up with somebody who's not consistent in their job. You might tell someone about the company once or twice and then you are not working it for the next 6 months. Someone would be silly to sign up with you 6 months later after not seeing you make any effort in your company. You need to show them consistently that you are working this business. The same goes for your team that are already with you. If you're not sponsoring every month, and if you're not hitting your PRS, remember 500 by the middle of the month, every month, then they're not going to do the same thing. They're going to lose focus as well. So where your focus is, your team is going to also focus. Another big thing I like about having the 500 PRS by the middle of the month is then you don't have to worry about your sales. You can then focus more time on your team. It's kind of a checklist that you can say, all right, I've got that. More sales would be wonderful, but now I can give my team the time and attention they need. You never know who's watching you, so just be consistent. Keep going. The next one is being consistent with your personal development. Every day you should be reading something, listening to something, watching something. Hey, you're all on a webinar right now, so kudos to you. This is personal development, working on your business, working on your personal skills, working on your social skills, working on your life balance. They're all very important things. So you need to constantly be doing these things. You should always be reading some book. I download about 4 or 5 on my Kindle at a time, so I always have something if I have some downtime to read. Or I've also been using audiobooks lately, because then if I'm busy or while I'm cleaning or while I'm on the airplane, I can plug them in and I can be listening and learning and growing. This helps me be a better leader, and I know it will help you all be better presenters and better leaders. Remember, this is network marketing. This is based on relationships. So the more likable we are as a person and the more we do to make ourselves the kind of leader we would want to follow, the more success we're going to have. Just the next thing is we need to always be setting new goals. They need to be measurable. They need to have a deadline. So I'm going to switch this little screen. You need to, every month, you should set a new goal for that month. You should have long-term goals for maybe the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years, and you constantly need to be changing and reevaluating your goals. My first goal when I signed up was to make $2,000 a month by year 2. I far surpassed that goal, so I'm constantly adding new ones, and it becomes a little difficult at a certain point when you don't know where you're going to be. But that's why you're always reevaluating. I usually set goals at the beginning of the month, and then halfway through the month I look at them and say, okay, was that maybe a little too far? Was that maybe a little too simple? And then I can adjust it as I need to. Now, for somebody whose goal is to sponsor 2 people a month, and they're consistently sponsoring 3 people a month, I'd say, well, that's great. Why don't you make your goal to sponsor 4? But some people are scared to set a goal that's a little hard because they think, well, what if I don't hit it that month? Then I'm a failure. Then it's, I blew it. But not really. If you're always striving for something a little harder and a little further than you're comfortable, then that is success. You're growing. You're pushing yourself. You need to get out of your comfort zone and get out of your bubble and keep moving forward. As leaders, it is very easy to also sink into our comfort zones. But I know as we push ourselves out, we can become better leaders. Okay, so I'm going to look real quick and see. I've got messages coming in left and right. So if everyone could stop posting anything in the chat, unless it is a question that they'd like me to answer, I would really appreciate it. I'm going to scroll through real quick and see if I can find any questions. You guys are chatty. I love it. You're so friendly. Let me look real quick and see if I can come up with a great question. I do know it's a little delayed, so I have to kind of give you a second. Oh, thank you. Thank you for liking my eyeshadow. I use the new white eyeliner on the insides. It's really cool, guys. Try it. I know it's scary and different. I'm trying to think. I'm not seeing questions, but I think it's just because of the delay, so I'm sorry. There's a lot of great books to read. Some of my favorite people to follow is Jim Rohn, Sarah Robbins, are great. TED Talks are huge. Get on TED and just look at videos. If you need something inspiring for the day, get on there and see what some of the great thinkers and leaders might be saying right now. I've learned a lot from those. I've done my my personal development series on my blog. It's at uniquedivas.com. And I really encourage people to go through the blog and watch some of the videos I've posted, because every day that I was posting one of those, I was watching 2 or 3 others and picking my favorite. And sometimes it was really hard because they're really incredible. Someone asked me, since your downline cannot see it, do you encourage sharing your PRS? So setting a goal of 500 and then share when you reach it and recognize when someone else reaches it as well. That's a great idea. You know, something I've seen a lot of leaders do is say, hey, it's halfway through the month. Who's reached 500 in PRS? And either they post that they did it, or they post a picture of their back office, or they just say, hey, shout out to anyone who's hit 500 in PRS and sponsored 2 people this month. Comment here if you did it. And it lets everyone kind of brag about their success, which is really important. This is, I think, as women, we really don't like to brag on ourselves. I know it's really hard for me to say, hey, I was the top earner last year, look at me. But I had one of our other leaders, Kara Cloyd, kept saying, you have to do it. You have to toot your horn. People need to know of your successes so they'll want to follow and listen to you. So I really appreciate that advice from her. We all need to push ourselves out of our comfort zones. Brag to your team. Now, I'm not saying take all the credit. Oh, I'm so wonderful. I hit black all by myself, because you didn't. You can't promote in this business without the help of a wonderful team. But things like sales, those are your accomplishments. You need to share them with your team so they can be excited with you and encourage them to do the same. Part of the personal development here is being okay sharing our successes. Let's see, sorry, messages are coming through here. Oh, sorry, they keep coming, so they're moving from me. What are the chances that a person who just joined reach a place where they make a comfortable income? When people ask me income questions, they say, how much can I make in this business? And I just turn it right back at them and say, well, how much do you want to make? Okay, this is what we're going to do to get there. Because it's different for everybody. If somebody's willing to work really hard 40 hours a week and they're willing to, like Sherry Brown, go everywhere with one eyelash done for 6 months, and they're willing to talk to everybody they meet and do as many parties as they possibly can, then their income is really, you can't give a number there. It's totally up to just their efforts. So if somebody wants to make a couple thousand a month, help them get there. They can do that in a few months. They could do it in maybe a year. It really depends on what they're starting the business with and what they're willing to do. Someone asked what pigments I'm wearing. One of them's Provoked, and I'm wearing Angelic, and I'm using the eyeliners, which I don't remember the colors. I think Pristine is the white one. That's one of them, and then the brown one. One said, when do you transition from being a trainee to being a trainer? I'm pink. Should I be training my downline? I don't want to step on toes. Okay, so here's something I want you all to know. When you start this business, you are responsible for your downline. We're very fortunate that we have elite uplines that we can go to, and most of us have at least a purple or a black also that we can go to. But when you sponsor someone, your responsibility is to train and lead them. Now, you may not feel ready, and that's okay, but do what you can. Grow into that role. I know for me, when I started this company, I sponsored some people, but I didn't have a back office, so I didn't really know what I was working with. January 1st of 2013, we got a back office. I opened it up and I went, oh my gosh, I have like 25 people in my downline. And I panicked because someone who I felt like the blind leading the blind, I didn't know what I was doing. I suddenly had a team of 25 people. And at that point, when there was only 150 of us, that was huge. Like, that was crazy. So I felt like I had to figure out how to be a leader, and I had to figure out how to do it fast because I had these 25 people wanting me to tell them what to do or how to do it or give them tips and advice, and that was really scary for me. So fortunately, most of us can kind of grow into the role of being a leader. If you're pink, yes, lead your team. Start training them, start teaching them, work with them, and grow into it. You're not going to have a downline of 50,000 overnight. That's not going to happen. But you can grow into those roles. You can learn. That's where personal development is so important. But yes, please train your teams. You're not going to step on your elite's toes. Any good elite or exclusive presenter is going to want you to excel. They're going to want you to be a leader. And a big part of it maybe is selfishly motivated because we know we can't do it on our own. We know we need you to be a leader. We don't want everyone necessarily to follow us. We want you to step into that role and to have your teams know that they can go to you for help. Let's see some other questions. I'm trying to kind of keep questions that sort of are having to do with what we're talking about. Sorry, new questions pop in and so I lose my place. So someone asked, what do you do about fence sitters, people that have expressed interest in joining your team, but then, this one says, but then they become non-responsive. So to me, if somebody stops responding to you, you can maybe check in 1 or 2 more times over the course of the next month, but then you walk away. Some people maybe truly don't want to afford it. Maybe some people aren't really that interested. Maybe some people are scared. So if they're not going to do it, they're not going to do it. The fortune is in the follow-up. So yes, follow up with them. But sometimes people just don't know how to tell you they really aren't interested, and they say, I can't afford it, or I don't know, we'll see next month. So, be there. Make sure you're still present for them. But if after a few months they're not responding to your emails at all, just stop. You're going to waste your time. It's okay once a month or every 2 months to say, hey, I'm here. We're doing this awesome sponsoring special this month if you're interested. But you don't need to constantly ride someone, and you don't need to nag someone. If they want to do it, they will do it. But make sure they can still find you. I try to friend request everybody I meet so they know where to find me later on, and then they're part of my virtual audience. So they see the excitement, they see the success, they see what we're doing, they see the new products. So it's a great way to just keep in touch with people. So that was a good question. This is going to be our last question here. This will be recorded. Oh, someone said the Black status presenter I talked to at convention all said that they are crazy, insane, busy, and get no sleep. Is it always like that? I don't want that. That's a really good question. Okay, so at convention, I think most of the Black status presenters were running on no sleep and were crazy busy, but that was convention. That was 3 days of working hard. For me, this is a long-term investment. I'm in here for the long term, the long haul. I feel a lot of ownership and connection to this company since I was here when we started and I was here when we had nothing, and I plan to be with this company forever. So I can't work 40 to 60 hours a week forever. That's not what network marketing is supposed to be. It is eventually supposed to be residual long-term income. So you need to set those limits. If you go to Unified, Melanie does a great class about time management, and I completely agree. You've got to decide which balls you can drop and which ones you can keep going, and then you've got to have focus time. I left convention deciding that I was going to make a better use of my time. I'm spending less time on Facebook. I'm spending less time in leadership groups that I don't need to be in because my leaders have got it handled. I don't need to be there. So I turned off notifications of about 30 different groups. So sorry guys if you don't see me in there as much, but it's because I trust you and I know you got it. So it really comes down to how you're going to manage your time and how you're going to be able to do this long term. Now for people who are making Black in 3 to 6 months, yes, they're working 40 to 60 hours a week every week. I know Kara Ramey and I were working about 40 hours a week plus for a year and a half. That because for us, it was harder in the beginning and we really wanted it. We were really motivated. We were really excited about it, and we knew it was going to change our lives. And so we worked our tails off. But I don't encourage doing that forever. Some people joke about their husbands being unique widowers. Because their wives are gone and they're always working. You need to keep that balance in your relationship. You need to be there for your children. You need to exercise. So for me, my time management, I exercise every day for at least half an hour or at least 5 times a week. That's my goal. Homeschool is starting up again this fall. I am unavailable those 2 hours in the morning. I will not answer questions. I will not go to my group. I will not return emails. That is my kids' time. We're fortunate we're able to get school done in about 2 hours. But then I'm able to spend some time during nap time and later in the evening working again. It keeps me sane to have a schedule, and it keeps me sane to draw boundaries. It goes back to that 80-20 rule. I don't have 24 hours a day I can give to my team, so I need to decide what portion of my time I'm giving to what members of my team. That's why it's so important. I learned it at convention last year, and I thought it was so harsh the first time I heard someone say, you can't work with everyone, you got to work with the willing. If you try to work with everyone, you'll go crazy. So no, I would say all Blacks are not that crazy all the time. Some have full-time jobs, some have kids, some don't have kids. We're all kind of in different spots right now in our lives. I would say something all of us Blacks have in common is we're kind of type A. We're all very motivated people if we all made it in such a short time. To make Black in under 2 years in any business, to make the top of a pay scale, is pretty incredible. So we all have been working very hard for it. But yes, I would not say that you need to expect that or plan on it. If you want to work 10 to 20 hours a week, that's perfect. And I would say you could probably hit Black in the next 4 years if you were consistent and you don't give up. And I think that's a very good goal. So just look at what your goals are. I am trying to see if I have one more question real quick. Someone said, do I use my personal Facebook page also to sell? I do it by selling without selling. Now, if you watch the Blacks, we all kind of have a different style and way we do this. I've sponsored a lot of people because they've been part of my virtual audience, sometimes for years, and they see what I'm doing. My aunt signed up in April, and she's doing awesome. She's built a great team. She's going to be Black, she's right there. Or not Black, I'm sorry. She's going to be green. And she signed up after a year and a half of watching me. and a lot of watching what I'm doing on Facebook. I've also had friends from high school, friends from college, people that lived on different military bases where we were, who signed up after watching me on Facebook. So I post the trips I'm going on. I post congratulations to my team sometimes. I'm posting pictures of my awards, which is a very uncomfortable for me to say, hey, look, I won 4 awards and I got a diamond watch, and blast that on my Facebook. Because to me, that's bragging, and women shouldn't do that. It's rude, but people need to see your successes. So I sell without selling, and I sponsor without sponsoring on Facebook. I don't try to do a hard recruit or a hard sell. Some people are more direct, and that's totally fine. You have to figure out what works for you. I also have a business page so as not to overwhelm my friends and family, or at least try not to. I'm sure convention kind of made them all nuts, but I use a business page as well. So it's really where you're comfortable and what you want to do on your wall. But I have found the more people I can send friend requests to who show interest in the business, the better we all are. Someone said, how do you handle your inbox being full all the time? Well, that's where a skill I've kind of learned lately, where I said I only answer emails about 3 times a day. I usually wake up in the morning and I have about 15 messages from presenters. I answer the easy questions that I can answer in just a couple words from my phone without a problem. And then I get up and go downstairs on my computer when I'm ready to face the world. And I try to answer the rest of the questions during breakfast. And then I try to answer again during nap time, and then again in the evening. So I try to set it up so I'm not constantly glued to it, and it's really been helping me out. Last question, do you use other social networks other than Facebook? I use Pinterest. I have a blog. I don't do a whole lot on my Unique by Nichole blog, but my Unique Divas blog for training, I try to post things there. And then I use Pinterest, and I use Instagram. Now, I'm not a rock star on any of those. I'm not getting a lot of sales, but the more I can get my name out there and get people seeing what I'm doing, the better off I do. So, yeah, I don't spend a ton of time on any one of those, but that's where I focus my attention. So I'm sorry I can't answer more questions. We're at about an hour, and my 6- and 8-year-old are downstairs babysitting my 2-year-old twins, so I'm very impressed that you've probably not even heard them, and they've both earned their $1 for babysitting for an hour. But thank you guys for joining me. I'm really glad we had such an amazing turnout, and this will be recorded so you can share it with your teams. It'll be on YouTube, and there will be a playback link as well. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I hope you learned something from this.